Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
The powerful Murdoch dynasty dominated rural South Carolina for generations. Few dared to publicly utter a harsh word against them. From the newsroom to the courtroom to the kitchen table where we recorded the #1 global hit, The Murdoch Murders Podcast, I invite you to learn more about my new book, Blood on Their Hands, a propulsive true crime saga, an empathetic work of investigative journalism, and an excoriation of the good old boy systems that enabled a network of criminals. Visit any retailers near you when it releases November 14th, 2023.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice. Hi, everybody. It's Wednesday. That means it's time for another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. And we are covering a brand new case today that is very close to home for us.
Yep.
So first off, you guys may have heard this story in the news. 3-year-old Victoria Rose Smith, who is from South Carolina, was adopted along with her 2 brothers last March. And we're going to get into the whys and all that. But right now, we wanted to take a moment to say that this murder has some underlying things going around as far as conversations. The family that adopted Victoria Rose and murdered her, it was a black family, and Victoria Rose and her brothers are white. However, we are not going to make this a race issue. And in fact, the family just today released a statement that we want to read right out of the gate, because murder is murder and it doesn't have a color.
Yep.
So Victoria Rose's great aunt said in the news today, people are bringing the race issue into this, but we don't have any evidence that it played a part. Evil is evil. Evil doesn't have a color. And her great aunt's name is Michelle Earps, I believe is how you say the last name. So she's just acknowledging that on the Justice for Victoria Rose page on Facebook, there have been some racial undertones. She goes on to say, please respect that there has been no official position that Victoria's death was racially motivated. The problem lies with a broken, flawed system that has failed this child and countless others. So they've just asked people on the page that is run by family to not make it a race thing. And so we just wanted to right out of the gate. It's obvious the difference in race between the adoptive parents and the children. And that's kind of all we're going to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, murder's murder, so
right.
Let's just focus on facts and the case itself.
Evil does not know skin color.
No.
So we've said it. There you go. So Let's look at, before we get into the crime, let's look at why Victoria Rose was in DSS custody.
Yep. So DSS removed Victoria and her 2 brothers from their biological family due to a positive marijuana test at birth. There was also an incident where the young brothers got out of the house at night and went to a neighbor's house and told them that their mom was sleeping. I think it was she had been up with the baby all night or something. And
yeah, I don't know that this is actually correct. I think it was during the day that the boys wandered out of the house and went to a neighbor's home. And apparently that was kind of the last straw for DSS.
Yep.
According to the great aunt.
Yep.
So usually when a child is taken from the home, DSS will give the biological parents or the guardian kind of a checklist of things that they have to do in order to try to get their child back home.
Yep. And there's a hearing in our state, there's a hearing within 72 hours of a child being taken out of their home. So then they go before the judge and they have to give evidence of why they removed the kid. And then the judge looks and says, this is what we're going to do. So that gets into the order.
Right. According to the great aunt, the mother did everything DSS asked of her, which was classes, drug testing. And according to the aunt, DSS changed the parameters which drug the process out. And this is not the first time I've heard of this happening.
Yeah.
I know of people that have had DSS involved in their families, and sometimes they felt that the requirements they put on them were unreachable with what they had, even though it wasn't something that would have affected the level of care the kids would have gotten in the home. I do know people that have expressed sometimes it is almost unattainable.
Yep.
What they're asking.
Yep. So Victoria's great aunt Michelle said that her niece eventually lost her parental rights because of a lack of proper housing. She did everything that was in the plan. She did the parenting classes and everything. She just had a housing issue. Mm-hmm. So instead of DSS offering her resources so the family could get housing and be reunified, they looked at her and told her to figure it out herself. Mm-hmm. And the aunt felt that her niece was bullied by DSS into giving up her parental rights.
Yeah. And I've heard of that before too.
Yeah.
So as far as the mom goes, I just want to say, for me and Fruit Loop, I don't care why Victoria Rose was put up for adoption. The mother of those 3 kids gave DSS 3 healthy kids to put up for adoption.
Yeah.
1 child died. This is not the mother's fault. She did what she thought was best, which is sign away her rights. I don't care about her past. I don't care. I'll tell you this, every picture I've seen of Victoria Rose with her biological family, she looked happy and healthy.
Yeah.
She never looked sad. Every picture with her adoptive family, she looks posed, almost like a doll, almost like something to show off. And we'll get into that later.
Yeah. The aunt also said that the children were never abused physically by her niece.
Right.
So.
And it's unfortunate. And I think that, there's got to be change. Obviously, the goal for DSS should be reunification. And we'll get into that later, but gosh, I mean, it's just this case to my core bothers me.
Yep.
So let's learn a little bit about Ariel Robinson, the adoptive mother who is now charged with murder.
She was a teacher. She has 2 biological sons, with her husband, Austin. One is 12 and one is 9. She did win the Worst Cooks in America on the Food Network show. She won $25,000 doing that.
And that was recent that show aired, right?
Yeah, that was in June of 2020. The finale was in August of 2020.
And we figured out it was 7 episodes.
Yeah.
That she filmed, and she beat all the people and won this $25,000 prize.
Yep.
We found out that she and Austin were married in October of 2010. So around the time that, so last year they would have had their 10-year anniversary.
Yep.
And they also had a podcast.
Yes.
And on that podcast, they frequently talked about parenting, her comedy, or she wanted to be a comedian.
Yeah.
And then they frequently talked about racial issues.
Yep.
But one thing that I think where you kind of start to question how much did they vet this family? She said some concerning things on previous podcasts.
Yeah. She sometimes talked about her anger and suicidal thoughts. At one point she says she didn't think she wanted to hurt others because she likes her freedom. She says, this is the first year I've literally and specifically prayed to God, can you just let the rapture take place? She said, I literally hate it here. I literally hate this earth. Yeah.
So I'm curious. I'm not sure when that was put on the podcast. Was it before the adoption or after? But even if it's after,
I mean, either case, it's bad.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Which to me, if it was after, then what the family is asking, they've started a petition for Victoria's Law which is just a reform of DSS and social services. And also, they want frequent and unscheduled visits with children who are in foster and newly adopted homes. And I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Because in this case, what we see is after the adoption, DSS walks away and says, okay, perfect. We've made a perfect family. A year later, we have a dead child.
Yeah. She also joked about throat punching her biological kids when DSS was visiting.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
She paraded her whole family on social media. When we started going through that, it was almost like it was a quest for fame.
Definitely. I think that, obviously I don't know her or her husband. I know all I need to know about them now. But you have somebody who's won a reality show. Now, I know that she was on that reality show after she had adopted these kids. But like you say, if you go on her social media, the hashtags are just adoptive mom, adoption, girl mom, just all of it, and it always had her comedy hashtag. My theory, we know she didn't adopt these kids to love them. One is dead. I almost feel like these kids were potential income, whether it be because there a lot of times families who adopt kids through DSS, not private adoptions, but when you go on a state level, you are entitled to financial reimbursement yearly or monthly
per kid
until the child either reaches the age of 18 or 21 if they go to college.
Yep.
So to me, kind of just looking at where we are now, either it's a financial situation where they're getting government money for the kids, or I kind of lean more towards the way she sort of just paraded them. That was she maybe wanting to get some reality show of a blended family, adopted and natural kids. And, I don't know. Just looking at her social media, she was very, very fame hungry.
Yeah.
Now, even doing Cameos, which is an online service where people pay to have, I don't even want to call her celebrity, because a lot of times these reality show celebrities just, come and go in a few months. They're not celebrities. They have their 15 minutes. But she was charging people on this Cameo service to do greetings for her fans.
Yeah.
So she was really milking the appearance on that show for all it was worth. I just feel like the way she set this family up online, it looked too posed. There was never pictures of Victoria Rose with her in a natural setting, just cuddling.
Yep.
It was always, let me show everybody how I did the top of your hair. Let me show everybody what kind of clothes I put you in today.
That looked painful. Her scalp was always like red.
Yeah, the hair, she
was
pulling
really
her hair
tight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But so to me, just none of the pictures looked like a natural family. It looked so posed.
Yep.
I just didn't see any natural affection there.
Yep.
So, so speaking of financial, you have uncovered something on a local city website that is curious.
Yeah, they were having some financial difficulties keeping their home. And when COVID hit, I think that kind of got pushed back because there was no foreclosures during COVID. So I think that was ruled by the Supreme Court. But their house was being foreclosed on, and it's their current house they're living in. So there was obviously some financial problems there. We know she quit teaching to get, I think, this comedy thing up and running. And from June to August, she was filming, or we don't know how long she was filming, but those shows ran from June to August, so we don't know how long it took them to film. But so she would have had to been away at some point with that. But here's one issue I had in looking at that. One of the reasons DSS said that they removed the kids was that her biological mom didn't have a home. But in March of 2020, you have a filing with a court that their house is being foreclosed on and they owe $129,000.
And this is the same month that Victoria Rose and her brothers were adopted to this family.
Yeah, so I don't quite understand. And I've spoken with people who are adopting and fostering, and the process is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Of what you go through, prior to all that, with the home studies that they do. I mean, that lasts like 3 or 4 months. I mean, you have to have physical after physical after physical, and your finances are looked at and all that kind of stuff. So it's very odd for me that, that's going to take place. And the other thing is, if I'm a struggling parent with 2 kids already of my own, why am I looking to adopt 3 more kids and bring in that I'm going to have to feed?
Right.
And clothe and house.
And at what point, if DSS has to look at finances, I mean, it seems to me that would be a natural. You don't want to put 3 siblings in a home and not know for sure that this family can financially support these 3 kids, even without any kind of government assistance.
Yeah.
Did somebody either not look, or did they look and just didn't look good enough? Because it took us about 10 seconds to Google this and come up to the website and find out their house was put into foreclosure the same month they adopted these kids.
Yeah.
What in the world? Yeah,
it just doesn't make sense. But there's a lot of things that we're going to discuss that, doesn't add up. DSS needs a whole revamping.
Oh, gosh.
I spoke with someone today, and they start out fostering kids, and now they're adopting. And the grueling process for to foster and getting that that home study done and getting all that done. But then after a child becomes free, they call them a free child, which means the parents have waived rights and you can just outright adopt them. When that adoption is finalized, that's it.
Yeah.
No visits.
That's crazy.
Nobody gets checked up on.
Because here's the thing. Not only are you dealing with physically and mentally healthy kids, there are a lot of at-risk, vulnerable children who have physical and developmental disabilities. And so we were talking about earlier how you can go online and look at a list of you can look at pictures and biographies of adoptable kids. And that scares me a little bit. It was almost like being at I'm not trying to be rude, but it reminded me of being at a puppy store.
Yeah.
And you're window shopping. So it's like you just have these, and I know there are so many kids in the system, and maybe this helps get the ones adopted that they're having problems getting placed. I don't know.
I was shocked.
I was too.
When I saw that on the South Carolina DSS page, it was like, click here to see our list of kids in the whatever.
And it's not even a list. It is pictures.
It's pictures and their names. Now, is it their real names? I don't know, but it's their case number. Like, it tells you like what they like, and it's like a paragraph of it's just like an ad.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel that if you're serious about adopting, I think there ought to be a process until you get to so far, then you can view.
Right.
I mean, I don't think just anybody. It scares me. I mean, I have nieces and nephews, and even, I mean, your kids. It scares me to think that anybody can pull up that list and look. A pedophile, whoever, they can pull that list up.
Right.
And look. And we know how many times people hide that are pedophiles and nobody knows it. That you could just go in and look at kids like you're buying a car.
Right. I just thought it was, I don't know, it's scary. And when I worked at, we have a school here in our town that caters to only severely developmentally and physically disabled children. And we had a volunteer from the Julie Valentine Center, which is the rape crisis center in town for women, children, men, adults, it doesn't matter. And there was a very scary statistic, and I don't remember the actual number, but it was maybe 80% of children that are developmentally or physically disabled are victims of sexual abuse at some point in their life. And the problem is they can't verbalize it.
Yeah.
So and a lot of these kids on this website are developmentally or physically disabled because obviously they're the hardest ones to place. That is a lifelong commitment as opposed to 18 to 21 years of just hands-on parenting. So the whole system has to have an overhaul. But I thought it was interesting. In 2019, South Carolina got a new head of the DSS, and he wanted social services, or he wanted the state to spend $8 million to help pay for about 85 new full-time positions that would help deal with the increase in children and families who need state services. $23 million to raise the starting pay for caseworkers, and then $6 million to increase pay for employees. Let me tell you what Merle Smith, a Sumter Republican, said. That is refreshing. But as I've expressed to him, I don't fund promises, we fund results. That is the wrong attitude to have about children in the system. Yeah. You want results, you have to fund those results. You cannot reasonably expect a caseworker that has 100 kids on their load to be able to check in on 100 kids on a weekly basis. That you can blame DSS workers. There are some out there who drop the ball and kids fall through the cracks. There are great DSS workers who love their job and make a difference every day. The problem comes from funding and high ups.
Yeah. And that's what some of the people I talked to said, that they've had 3 or 4 caseworkers, and you get some who are really, really good, and then you get other ones who are just downright lazy and they just don't do their job. So it needs a revamping. There needs to be more pay. And I mean, these kids don't choose to be in this situation.
No.
They're brought into this in bad circumstances, and they need someone to look out for them.
Now, exactly. And the one thing too is when this lawmaker, I'm trying to find his name again, the guy from Sumter,
yep,
the House budget writer,
yep,
the same year that he said he wanted results, 23% more kids were adopted in South Carolina than in previous years. Now, my question is this: when you're going on the same budget and you're putting more kids into adoptive homes, is the vetting process suffering?
Yeah.
I mean, when the system's overloaded, you're desperate to place kids. You know, at what point does the vetting kind of start to get lax? And then we are where we are because the kids should have never been placed in a family where their house was being foreclosed the same month. Somebody somewhere dropped the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Victoria Rose was the one that bore the brunt of that.
Yeah.
She is the one that suffered because somewhere down the line, flags weren't raised, even just on a financial level.
Yeah.
Much less anything else in Ariel or Austin's past that they've said or done on podcasts or wherever else that would be red flags, which we have seen.
Yeah. So getting into what happened, so there was a 911 call released, and it's the dad, Austin, and he's telling the 911 operator that that his daughter is choking on water. And that's basically all you hear. Mm-hmm. It's a very short, I don't know if they didn't release the whole thing or what.
No, it was not the whole thing.
Yeah, it was very short. So 911 was called. Fire department comes in. And when they immediately see her, they immediately contact police and say, you need to come. There's an issue.
They knew it was a homicide by child abuse immediately.
Yeah. And they see that. They see that enough. They know the signs. They know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing too is there was a police report released, and it literally every bit of it was redacted except for a couple of little things. And the one thing that stood out to me was it says Ariel explains that yesterday, 113, which is the day before Victoria Rose is murdered, on 113, and then it's redacted for 7 lines.
Yeah.
There's nothing. So I'm not sure if she is you know, a lot of times when children are murdered, when they're beaten, it's, oh, she fell down the stairs, or she fell off her bike. And, you know, to anybody who does this for a living, they know she's full of it.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see, and it may be a while before any of this stuff is released. I want to see the coroner's report too. I don't think that they have not released that as far as we know.
No. So in the pics that we've seen through social media, the kids don't look healthy to me.
No, they do not. If you look, and I think I may have found a picture that was around the time they would have been adopted out. It's a picture with their mother, and they all look, you know, chunky little cheeks, chunky little arms. There was a noticeable difference towards the last pictures that Ariel posted of Victoria Rose.
Yeah.
They all three kids to me just looked, my grandma would call it gaunt. They looked thin. They looked pale.
Their eyes were always red. So I don't know if that was they'd been crying. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you look through Ariel's Instagram posts on her Ari Comedy, okay, so she has 2 Instagram pages. One basically highlighted her career as a teacher, and it was all students and staff and that kind of thing. And then her main one, which was her Ari Comedy Funny or whatever she called it, that's where she put pictures of her doing podcasts, her public appearances, and then pictures of the kids.
Yeah.
When we were going through the Instagram pictures, what like was super obvious to us after about the second picture?
You talking about how she paraded her and
The fact that the kid had bruises in every
oh,
picture.
you know, yeah. The one on the back of her neck. At first, we were like, it looks like bug bites, but then we zoomed in. It was like, no, that's bruises and his fingerprints.
Yeah, it looks like fingerprints.
Yeah.
But in a lot of the pictures, in fact, the Daily Mail, which is a British, is kind of a tabloid. I read it because sometimes they are very good with like their visual pictures. I like to go there because they have a lot of pictures and I'm very visual. But they did a story today on the Instagram pictures where they circled, and I tweeted out the link on Facebook and Twitter to that article. But we noticed that before that was even done. Pretty much every picture, as far back as we could go, in at least one of them, because she would post 3 or 4 at a time, she had marks on her.
Yeah.
And I know that, you know, when things are good and things are seemingly normal, you don't always I never look at kids' pictures of people I know and look for bruises, because you just don't assume that that's what you need to look for.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, it was pretty clear on that Instagram, this kid was being abused.
Yeah. Something's going on in that house.
Yes.
Something's going on in that house. So they have a bond hearing.
Yes, February 12th.
Yep, February 12th. We have to get a time on that or whatever. But it's just, it's every case we've covered is kids, and it's just like they don't have a choice in any of this stuff.
No.
Like they're drugged through divorces and just horrible things, and they're losing their life.
Yeah.
Because of it, and it's sad.
It is
how our world is just crazy.
Yeah, and I mean the thing for me is this: DSS is one of those services that we should spare no expense in making sure that these departments are staffed to where each agent can say with like certainty at the end of the day, I know these kids are fine tonight. I can lay my head down and know that the kids I'm responsible for are healthy and safe.
Yep.
When you and if you look at like the trials of Gabriel Hernandez, the documentary on Netflix, it goes back to this. Ultimately, at the end of the day, DSS dropped the ball and he died because of it. There was a case in South Carolina in 2018, I believe, where an 8-month-old baby, after 11 reports against the father and 11 investigations, the child was allowed to go back home and was killed. So you have situations where these kids are put back into situations that clearly were worse than what Victoria Rose and her siblings were in, and they die at home.
Yeah.
And then you have a situation like this where they get adopted. You know, every picture of Victoria Rose with her mom and her brothers or any family member, happy, healthy, smiling. If you look at the pictures on Ariel's Instagram, the kid's head is always looking down. Her little eyes, to me, if you zoom in just to her eyes towards the end, they just look emotionless and they look empty.
Yep.
Not like a child that was full of joy. We don't know what happened behind closed doors. I think the kids will be a good indication. They will talk to their biological sons and the siblings, and kids don't lie.
Yeah.
We're going to find out some of the day-to-day dynamics. I just don't know that we want to know.
Yep.
Because it's not going to be nice.
Yeah.
It's not going to be pleasant.
Yep. There was a show that used to come on. I loved it. It was called Judging Amy. And Tyne Daly was in it. She was the mom. The daughter was a judge. And that was Amy. But Tyne Daly was a CPS worker. She was a DSS worker. And she took so much care and paid attention and went the extra mile to make sure the kids in the system were taken care of.
Yeah.
And that's what, when this came out, that's immediately where my mind went, was being, and I've had friends that work in DSS, and I totally get, and they're good people, and they're kind of getting the shaft because it's not funded correctly, and they have all these cases and you know, all that stuff. So there has to be a change. And if you're in that line of work and you're in it for the wrong reason, you need to get out of it.
Exactly.
Because that is a calling. God has put that calling in your heart to look after kids, and it's a full-time job, and it's 24/7. You don't ever have a break.
No. But
so
I think our states fund some of the most dumb things. Why are we not taking money from stupid programs? And I'm not saying every program is stupid, but it's like we have to make the changes to where DSS is funded appropriately, because not one child is worth some dude down in Charleston saying, I want results.
Yeah.
No, these kids need results. I don't care what a lawmaker wants. The kids deserve to be taken care of. It's not their problem that the states cannot figure out how to fund DSS.
Yeah.
The whole country needs an overhaul. We've lost too many kids.
Yep. Yep.
So February 12th, they both have a bond hearing. Ariel Robinson's attorney is the only one. By the way, they have hired different attorneys separately.
Yep.
So that tells me it's going to be a finger pointing game. They're going to point fingers.
Yeah.
The blame game. But her attorney argues that she should be let out on bond because she has a clean criminal record, or she did.
Yeah.
She is a lifelong resident of South Carolina, and she has a master's degree from Clemson University. And she was a public school teacher until 2019. Yeah. She is not a flight risk nor a danger to the community.
Okay. There's a kid dead.
Yeah.
You're a danger.
Mr. Boughton, Ariel's attorney, you're off.
Yeah.
Would you let this woman watch your kids? Probably not.
No.
So I'm tired of, these lawyers go out and say, oh, she deserves to be out. No, Victoria Rose deserves to be walking around today in a safe home.
Yeah.
That's what's deserved, and it's not here. So we're going to say her name, Victoria Rose. We're not going to stop until we get to the bottom of this. And I just hope that you guys will come along for justice. We're going to tweet out a link to a petition at change.org that the family has put out for Victoria's Law, which we briefly touched on, to reform DSS and social services, and then to allow for unscheduled visits for foster and adoptive kids. They have gotten a massive number of signatures in a few days, but everyone helps. So we're going to tweet that out. Please sign that and share it. Yep. And we have been in touch with some of Victoria's family. They have been amazingly sweet to us, and they have offered us insight into the little girl that she was, and just bubbly, sweet, sassy. Sounds like, just a little firecracker. But our thoughts and prayers are with her biological family, because in my opinion, her mom did what she had to do to give her a better life. And, so my thoughts and prayers are with her, because I know what she feels right now has to be just devastating.
Yep. And I feel for the other two boys, Because they didn't ask for any of this either.
Right.
Their world's been turned upside down too. So
Their biological children are with family.
Yeah.
And the two brothers are with foster parents. Now, they were with a wonderful foster family right before they were adopted. In fact, the foster mom helped with the funeral. Speaking of the funeral, this family had to fight tooth and nail to get this body released to them to be able to bury them. They were told initially that Victoria Rose would be buried privately and they would not know where. And then I think the news got a hold of it. The family went on the news and was talking about their struggles to get the body to lay to rest. And eventually they were given her body and they were able to have a funeral.
Yeah.
But just at every turn, even after her daughter's murdered, DSS hung up on her and told her, you're not going to know.
yeah,
So
and that's a tough situation because she gave up parental rights. So I think it then had to go through probate or something, and eventually it got worked out, and they were able to
yeah, and I
have it
understand.
released. It's tough.
I get fired up. Like, it's because what are you going to do? Just privately have the state bury her alone? I mean, I'm glad in the end they did that. It's just, it's just a sad situation and we're just getting started. We will see what happens. We're going to cover the bond hearing on Friday. I don't think they'll get it, even though she has a master's degree from Clemson. Her lawyer thinks she should walk free till this trial, but we'll see what they're, how are they going to defend themselves? Is it going to be she did it, he did it? I'm just curious to see what their alibi or what their explanation is going to be. You had an interesting theory about the water the other night when we were talking about this.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, why do you say she's choking on water? And I'm thinking, are they waterboarding this kid? Like,
I would have never thought that, but why would you say she's choking on water?
yeah, I don't see when obviously there was blunt force trauma.
Right.
So why do you bring up water?
Yeah, because if she's unconscious and she goes to the hospital, they're going to see that she doesn't have water in her throat. I mean, they saw that she was beaten to death.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
So just evil in our community. We cover stuff all over the country, but when it hits home, it's different. It doesn't make it any worse. It just makes it a little more personal.
I hope, because I know her two little brothers, what they went through, and definitely thinking and praying for them.
Oh yeah.
Because what did they see?
You just don't know. They had to have seen enough. I mean, you live in a house with these people, and I think we're gonna find that what maybe these boys, both sets of boys, the biological and the adopted kids, can give insight to is home life since they were adopted.
Yeah.
Is this something where things started fast and furious with neglect? The kids looked neglected. I'm sorry. They did not, they looked nice, but if you look at pictures from a year ago, I know kids grow. They didn't look healthy. There's a difference.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
I want to give a shout out to foster parents and these the foster family that has these two boys.
Yes.
I mean, that's just amazing what you guys do to keep kids safe. The true loving kids, keeping them safe, providing a safe environment for them.
And adoptive parents too, to bring a child that's not biologically yours into your home and to love them like one of your own takes a very special person.
Yeah, I've got a friend that has battled for 2 years for this sweet little kid, and it's a long road.
It is.
And definitely a calling. So
yeah. So we're going to stay on top of this case. There's much more to come. We will tweet out anything of relevance, and unless anything else happens, we will talk to you guys on Sunday, and we'll update you about the bond hearing. And if anything happens with the Vallow case or Gannon Stalk, we will bring that to you immediately.
Yeah, there's a hearing coming up for Chat. Is it Chat or Lori? We didn't put it on the board, but
I forgot the date.
It's like is it 26th or something?
It's later in the month. We'll tweet it out to make sure everybody knows.
Yeah.
But we'll cover this bond hearing Friday, and any updates, we will bring them to you. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and hit the bell to get updates when we put a new episode up, and we're going to keep working this case, trying to find out anything we can about these people's backstories, more about Victoria Rose and her siblings. And so you guys have a good night, and we will see you Sunday.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.